What is going on, League of Leaders? Whether you have done this before or you're about to do it now, there is no question that you are going to have to learn how to find out how to reinvent yourself. And the truth is, sometimes the opportunity that you built your career around isn't where you left it. And nobody's handing out any maps anytime soon. But my guest today, well, she's done what most leaders are only just starting to face. Alex Sabbag recently sold her business. We'll get into that, but it's not even her first reinvention. She calls these breaking point moments 2x4 moments. When life hits you so hard, you wake up one person and go to bed another. Hers arrived on her 33rd birthday when her boyfriend was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And since then, 2 businesses, a best-selling memoir, and a framework for turning collapse into a calling. Alex, welcome to Leadership Live. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you, Donnie. It's good to be here. Nice to be with everybody.
So it's interesting. We were doing a little bit of a dance. There's so many things that you've done with people just to kind of get their minds refreshed, get them reconnected to what's going on. You have some great coursework and content on the Fuel platform. This is brought to you by Fuel today. But we made this shift towards reinventing yourself, that career pivot. Alex, why is this burning on your heart today?
Well, I think it's important to recognize 2 things. Number one, and these 2 things don't agree with each other. But number one, I was taught many, many years ago not to share or teach things that you hadn't fully processed or come out to the other side. So there's that one. And then there's the other thing of teaching from a place of authenticity and vulnerability and honesty about where are we at this present moment. So we're going to go with that sort of silo here because I don't have the roadmap that you so eloquently mentioned. I don't have the guidebook. I don't have the to-do list or the checklist. I have some best practices and I can certainly share those. But I am in the middle of, one of many professional plot twists that we all are going to go through. And the quicker you kind of admit that this is going to happen to you, if it hasn't already, then I think the easier it's going to be when you do get hit with that crossroad of this place in my career doesn't suit me anymore. And that's either your idea or somebody else's. Okay. So a lot of times these happen because, a higher kind of source comes in and says you're no longer needed or there's a restructure or whatever. So we get fired, of which I have definitely been there. And then there are these moments where it's something that you created and you're like, wow, okay, I knew I was supposed to create this and I put it in a certain place, but I am not supposed to be the person that takes it forward. And there was a point a few years ago. I founded a yoga and Pilates studio in Southern California, and I deeply believe in movement, and I have built entire career around wellness and supporting people through their wellness journey. And by the way, wellness journey doesn't necessarily mean work out all the time or whatever. I have a very, very specific take on wellness, but I built this business and ran it for 3.5 years. And a couple of years ago, after I'd written my book and done my book tour and started speaking and started working on a much bigger scale, I realized that number one, owning a brick and mortar business in one city was very limiting for me as far as my reach and my impact. And so I realized that. And number two, because I felt limited in just the reality of being the owner of this business, I wasn't doing myself and my talents the justice and service of reaching my full capacity. So, owning, whether you're creating a family or you're creating a new career, there is a huge space that is occupied by this thing that you've made. And my space was getting so heavily occupied by this business that wasn't going to get me to where I knew I needed to go. And so I made the decision probably a little over about a year ago to sell it. And as far as business sales go, this happened very quickly. And that's great because that means it's divine order. If there's a lot of resistance and it's not happening, that's probably not supposed to. And the right buyer, came, and it was just whoosh, jumped into the silo and got it done. And so it was done in early June. So I am fresh off a 6 week, call it sabbatical in Europe, and I don't know what time zone I'm in, but I'm happy to be here having this conversation. I don't,
Oh
probably
my goodness.
those eye patches, to do a little bit with the jet lag, but you know what? We show up anyway.
What an intro. I love it. There's a couple things in there. I want to connect with early on. In one of those, well, let's talk about, you said you've mentioned this before. There's a spiritual aspect to what you're doing. And I do think that when people are in the moment where they have to shift, they were forced to shift, or they're realizing that what is here is no longer serving them, and they jump into something. This is like, work is a deeply spiritual thing. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you mentioned with divine order and what you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. Number one, we're put on this earth for a reason, and you can call it purpose, reason. I mean, this is the type of work you do with people, Donnie. Like, you figure out, okay, what's your calling? What are you good at? And you make a process out of it. I mean, that's like totally putting words in your mouth and not as eloquently as you put it, but that is, from my understanding of how you help people. And that's huge because there's a lot of people out there just doing a job because
Mm,
it was easier, it fell into their lap, and they think that they have to do it, or they were forced to do it, or their family told them to do it, or their spouse told, whatever it is. And like, this whole thinking for ourselves thing has not been maybe as prevalent. Like, there's a lot of obligatory living, and there's also a lot of obligatory working. And that's something that I do. I talk a lot about that in my book, and I am not an obligatory person at
mm.
all. And I'll tell you what, there's no quicker way to piss off my mother than to tell her that I am not obligated to do X, Y, and Z when it comes to like family. But that's probably a topic for another day. When you talk about, the divine order around your work, like, I'm a spiritual person, I'm a Christian, I'm a God girl. Like, I speak from a place of that framework. So if that doesn't identify with you, then, take it or leave it. Of course, discernment is important in all conversations, but we have God-given talents, we have God-given purpose, we have a reason in like his perfect light why we're on this earth. And the quicker we can figure that out, I think the happier we're going to be in a professional setting, because it's what we're supposed to do. Now,
Mm.
being happy doing what you're doing doesn't mean it's easy or comes without challenge or some trials and tribulations along the way. But I have figured out, at least at this juncture of my life, what I'm supposed to be doing. And it is not on this like hyper local level. It is on a
Mm.
much bigger scale. And by staying as the owner of this, sweet small business that I developed, I was living in a limiting space. I was keeping myself small. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to, where we stay small because it becomes comfortable, or change is a little bit too intimidating, or, we don't know what's over there on the other side. So we're not willing to let go of the good to make room for the great. And these are all things that I love talking about these topics, but I also love working one on one with people, um, because it's just so easy to stay stuck. Unfortunately, we get very comfortable in our little bubbles, and it's very uncomfortable, especially when you talk about selling a business, to, peel back the curtain and have somebody literally do like open heart surgery on
Mm.
something who's so, lovingly and thoughtfully created, and rip it apart, and um, put a different value, that may not be your value. It's a very interesting process.
Oh my gosh, there's so much in here, and it's super rich. Listen, I know for a fact there are people who are watching and listening right now that are finding themselves, they know that they're either they're feeling something come to an end, or maybe they feel a little bit like an empty suit. Like, it's interesting when, like, I want to like even see if you can dig into your the local store that you are not, not store, but the local location. There's almost like this element of like commitment. Like, when we do something, right, there's a level of commitment, and maybe it gets us to a certain point, and a lot of us, we get comfortable making the same commitment and living kind of that same pattern because we know it created success. But sometimes maybe it's time, there's a chapter that wants to end and another one that wants to begin. How did
Mhm.
you sense that happening for you? And then how did you summon the courage how does one summon the courage? This is probably a habit for you. How does one summon the courage to say, maybe imagine this next chapter?
Yeah. Oh, there have been a few points in my life, career-wise, where I've felt the shift coming, and there's 2 things. Number 1, you can feel the shift coming, and if you don't do anything about it, then it's probably gonna hit you anyway, and you're gonna get pushed out. So, either go willingly or be forced. I mean, and either are fine, I guess. It's just the quicker that you realize it and, start to put action behind it, I think the smoother your journey is gonna go, instead of having somebody come in and, like, kinda push you out. Um, for me, I realized when I opened the studio, after I had had it for, I don't know, it was pretty early, like 6, 8 months or whatever. I was working with a business coach, and I was really unhappy, and I was crabby, and I was just
Mm,
like, things just weren't, it was like everything that I wanted, I built it. It was there, it was real, it was going well. But I wasn't satisfied. And at this point, the issue was that I hadn't started writing my book. And that was supposed to be happening. So it had nothing to do with the business. I was just generally unsatisfied. And that for me shows up in a lot of angst. So I can tell you that I wasn't necessarily like a pile of fun to be around or like super joyful because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And don't think like supposed to be doing is like some strict, you're on a curfew and this like rigid path. No, like purpose work is like, this is like mind, body, spirit fulfilled. This is great. This is where we get to shine and like things become very organic and plentiful in our life.
yeah.
So
So when you like, I'm curious, like when you're looking at just like that thing, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You realize there's something like for you. How do you know what that is? Is it the feeling of love and joy and peace for you? Is it just like is it how you wake up? Is it that you're not grumpy? Like what was your
I think I think it may show up different for everybody. I mean, I think some people could be really uninspired and unmotivated and feel a little lethargic. I think others could be angsty like me. I mean, I've got a lot of fire in my being, so that like kind of spice or like kind of
mm,
that's like my response. Maybe a little anger response, which that's okay. It's just like good to be aware. But it shows up differently. I think when it became very very apparent to me that I no longer that this business, let's put it this way, that the business that I had founded deserved a better leader. It did. I built a beautiful, multifaceted, multi-revenue stream business, and I was not equipped to bring it forward. Um, Not because I didn't have the talent or the skill set, it's because deep down I didn't want to.
mm,
And I knew that. I knew that in a way. And so I think as founders, we have to be really honest and not let that founder syndrome get in the way of like, that comes in with the pride of like, but it's mine, it's mine. Well, you didn't create it. I would venture to say there is absolutely no business out there that is created for just a personal use.
mm.
0. Like I created this as like a community gift, as a space that had served me once before as I was going through a tough time in life, and something that would serve others, a place to go, a place to connect, a place for um, a variety of different times of wellness. It was an art gallery. There were cocktail parties. We did dinner events. I hosted a 20-person retreat in Italy. Like it was expansive. It wasn't, just a yoga studio. It was just this really, really, really sweet business. And it wasn't going to thrive if I stayed as the owner because I was
Wow.
being pulled over here, wherever over here is to do, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm not supposed to be working on a hyper local level right now. That's just not where I'm at. But the right person who is came forward. And then there was that like sort of divine intersection where we could pass the torch.
Okay. I'm really curious about that. There's something though that I feel like that a lot of people who would watch or listen to this, like when you run into the I don't want to, you realize you didn't want to do it. A lot of
Yeah.
people try to go say, well, I need to go fix that I don't want to thing. Where did you what for you? What was the permission to say like, no, 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 that's something I should honor instead of resist? And like like I guess I just feel like that a lot of people feel like that's not responsible, or that's not what I shouldn't follow that. I should follow this. And it's almost like that feels naughty in some ways, or off limits, or like you said, that bothers your mom. Like, I'm not obligated to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that thought process can be a little polarizing because I think there is a big brain wiring out there somewhere, of which I don't subscribe to with people thinking that I have to do this. Like, this is the only thing that's there for me. And so when they think, I don't think I don't want to, and that rebellious kid who doesn't want to go to school. I mean,
Hmm.
for me now, it's like, sure, if I don't want to get up at 6 a.m., I'm absolutely not going to, but I'm 41 and I've earned that right.
Right.
So there's, the I want to doesn't necessarily have to be fixed. It has to be noticed. And so
Mm.
if you're saying, well, I have to go fix it, sure, there may be like in every work, in life, there is the have to do section. And if you do the have to do's, then you have the kind of proverbial permission slip to do the get to do's. But you don't just get to do all the get to do's. If you just did the get to do's, the have to do's would never get done, and there'd be no foundation for the business. And whether you're working for somebody else or you're creating your own, there's the have to do's to get to the get to do's. And when we say like, well, I don't want to do that. Well, of course I don't want to sit and crunch numbers and like operate payroll. But if I don't, then no one's going to show up. And then whatever. So it's like you work through these like systems and processes, but there does become a point where there is no fixing. It's not
Hmm.
a problem that I don't want to do it. It's a pivot.
Yeah.
So it's like, what am I, what do I want to do? And then go chase that and
All right.
let this other thing thrive in the right environment with the right leadership. And a lot of I will say, like, if any founders are listening, it is really good to know your founder window. And I've been a founder twice, and then I was the first hire of a startup once. And I'll tell you what, I am your day 0 or ideation phase to 18-month gal. You do not want me after that. It's not just because I get bored or whatever, but like my strike zone, it doesn't even matter why. But if you can
Mm.
understand that about yourself, that like this is your window when it comes to small businesses and being an entrepreneur. Consulting is very different. That's just you kind of operating on your own. But as far as small businesses go, that's where I'm at. There are some people who are like, no, 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 no. I come in at 18 months and I thrive through 5
Yeah.
years. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Know your window, because when it's time to go, you got to go be responsible. Like, it would be very irresponsible for me and the business that I lovingly created to overstay. And this is another thing that we love to do as humans. We overstay everywhere. We overstay at parties. We overstay
Yes.
on scrolling. We overstay at jobs. We overstay in relationships. We overstay and overstay and overstay because we are unwilling to end the thing that has to end in order for us to start the thing that comes next. We
Oh my
we grip
goodness.
onto it.
So good. And there is a season for everything. And like, as you were saying that, I'm like, I'm seeing these lovely, wonderful pears that we have a fruit basket. It doesn't last long because our kids come over and they just like, it's gone, but every once in a while we get that rotten piece of fruit. It's past its season.
Mhm.
And that's literally what you're describing, is that, like, if you overstay your welcome, it's not just bad for you. It actually starts to like affect others. I feel like this the I don't want to. Maybe it's showing people their design, and there might be some things that people have been psyching themselves up to do, and the truth is they just weren't designed for that. I really feel like there's a lot of people right now even feeling that I don't want to do this anymore. I want
Yeah.
to maybe
No.
it's so what do you do? What do you do with that now? I've got this. I don't
Yeah.
wanna. What
Yeah.
now what?
First of all, like, stop complaining. Like,
Ooh,
number one, like, really, like, just quit bitching about it. I don't want to hear
okay.
it. Like, I don't want to hear you say over and over and over that I don't want to, unless you're actually doing something about it. And so we were talking a little bit about my brand and my book and my newsletter, and the newsletter is called Happy Horseshit. Just get on the list; it's going to be great. And
Wait,
the
is the
preface.
list the shit list? Is that what we're like? I'm kidding.
No, the
Yeah, I'm
whole
kidding.
premise between this is, if you are
I know,
not
but
moving toward your manifestations, and now, the word manifestations to me is like very woo woo, but like your dreams, your hopes, your callings, your whatever, if you're not moving toward those desires, it's all a bunch of happy horseshit. You're just spewing hot air out there. And trust me when I say we need less of that and we need more like showing up with intention and action. And this is where people are like, well, I don't know where to start. This is how I can help you. Number one, I posted 2 stories today on Instagram promoting this conversation. Number one, it was what I ate for breakfast. And that was like the first thing talking about this conversation. And I put a little note there that this is very relevant to the conversation. And the second one, I was doing the, talking thing in the story while I was out for a walk. The biggest place people get stuck is they stop moving forward. They stop like living with an intentional life that you absolutely should be doing, whether you're happier in your career or you're in like this process of transition. Number one, what you eat is the most powerful choice you make every single day. I'm an animal-based eater. I promote that through and through. Like the more meat, the better. I can send you an animal-based eating guide. I'm sorry if that offends you, but I'm just here to tell you the truth. That's number one. Number two, move your body. I don't care if you like yoga. I don't care if you like Pilates. I don't care if you like to garden. I don't care if you like to walk. Whatever it is you do, move your body. It was over 90 degrees outside with like the thickest Midwest humidity you could cut with a butter knife. And I did a 3-mile walk. That's important because if you don't, like physical stagnancy is the same as mental and emotional. So it's very important to keep these things like clicking through the body. I'm also jet lagged. Okay. Moving your body is really, really good for that too. And I want to maintain my suntan. I had many, many reasons for getting outside today, but I'm telling you that in the transition, you don't have to know where you're going. I don't even know where I'm going to live right now. Okay. Like let's address 2 things. I'm homeless and I'm unemployed. So there you go. Take this advice with a whole grain of salt. But it is very, very important to stick to this like basic cycle of like just taking care of yourself that I would put in like the wellness category, but not in the like, get your peptides and all of that. Like there's a whole wellness industry that you can very, very, very much overpay for things. And like, if that's calling you, go ahead. I do some of that stuff too. But at the very basic, move your body, get natural sunlight, pay attention to what you eat. If you're eating garbage and you're staying up too late and you're binging too many shows and you know that this transition's upon you, but you're not doing anything about it, I definitely don't want to hear you complain. Absolutely not. Then just be quiet and go like, live your life over there.
Step 1,
yeah.
Be aware. Step 2, no bitching. Okay.
Absolutely. And step 3, it's like you just get up and keep your routine, have breakfast, do your morning journaling, do a meditation practice, go to a workout class, book coffee with a friend. Like, just because you're like in the middle, like look, life unfolds in liminal space. And to get really biblical with you all, like the desert space was very, very real. I mean, it was 40 days in the desert. Who knows? It could have been many, many more than that. But we are literally asked to exist in the in-between. There is no there. There's no like, when I launch my next business, am I, oh, okay, I made it. That's over. What? Like that's like the most delusional thought, that we could have. That's like, that there's ever this like end. There is no ending to that. There's just this continuation and this process that continues to go, and we're asked to accept and sit in it.
Yeah. Oh my
and
gosh.
Move through it.
There is richness in the in-between. I've recently been talking like to one of my sons and saying, hey, sometimes the Lord appears here and it feels like he's gone, but it's like, what are you doing? He's going to come back. He's going to appear again. I'm not talking about in times. I mean, in your life, when he appears, what have you done in the in-between? There's something that's really well defined in you and shaped in you in that, and I love the liminal space. I want to know, Alex, they're letting go. I think a lot of us have issues sometimes. We committed to something. We feel like everyone from Rocky Balboa to Tony Robbins taught us to never give up, never give in, never quit. Like we love all of those speeches, but that's not really how it works, right? That like if we're going to continue to develop and move into a next chapter, we have to close the previous one. How do we do that?
Yeah, I mean that's tricky. I'm not a letting go expert. I'm gonna tight grip this thing till like my sweaty fingers get like peeled away from it. You know, it's like I know this about myself. I wrote a book about it and I try to help people do it better than I do. Do as I say, not as I do on this one. Um, I don't think, in my opinion, quitting, if you want to call it that, or pivoting is negative. I think, you know, if you're just lazy, yeah, that's horrible. Like, don't do that. Don't be lazy. You were never put here to be lazy. If you have a bad attitude or, you know, I mean, that's like a totally different conversation. I don't think there's anybody here listening to this conversation that even like fits into that category. It's like a high performing leadership audience. So when you feel like you don't want to do it, I mean, if you are like a person of faith, like you are, those desires are placed on your heart for a reason. Like you have that feeling where you're like resisting your current, um, like whatever operating system it is you're doing, your job, your relationship, your social life, like your habits. Like when that starts to speak to you and say, this no longer feels like something I want to reach for, you have to pay attention to it because it's through those, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. The truth is, we're spoken to in a small whisper, a still
Mm.
small voice. It's one of my least favorite things about biblical teaching. Like, I prefer a billboard. It's time to change, move over here, stop looking left, go right. Um, but we don't get that. We get whispers. And it's up to us to develop a process, which is why I tell you what you eat and how you move your body and like your basic habits are so important because without them, you let so much unnecessary noise from the outside world come in. And I will tell you a personal choice that I made in the last 6 weeks was to spend it in Europe. Back to back girls' trips. I'm in Saint Tropez. I'm spending all the, 3 weeks in Paris. I'm like living, right? And it's like looks totally fabulous on Instagram, like just amazing, right? As things tend to do on the internet. But every time I go away and I have these experiences, and I do believe life is meant to be enjoyed. So we're not here to be in prison. I lose the still small voice. There is no still small voice. There is rosé all day and spritz o'clock. And like, I love to honor those two things, but I lose the listening. And I have to be acutely aware of that because it's very important on the backside of an experience like that, call it a sabbatical or call it a vacation, that I go to a place where the small voice can come back. So being like, intentional about your habits and your routines help in keeping the noise away and the small whispers to come forward.
I love it. It's interesting that you're focusing on routines. I've like for me, I mean, this is my first real human to human interaction with you, but what I my experience of you has been I've used your stuff to almost create some of the space so that it removes the weeds and overgrowth that kind of crowds its way in. It's real interesting to me that you're the travel almost you honor that, but it's isn't there some I don't want to say intentionality, but or buffer or transition, but from the time of letting go of one thing to the time of beginning another, like what value does other spaces
Hmm.
give to you in resorting or remixing, I guess, the ingredients and looking at maybe the next chapter? What's the new calling?
Well, there's a couple things. There's one more point I want to make about letting go, and we don't have to look at letting go always as just this like massive, I'm going to leave my job or divorce my spouse. I mean, there's like many, many ways to practice like intentional letting go. That's not like those major, major life decisions. Um,
Hmm.
Number one, like how you surround yourself in your home. If there's a lot of clutter, if your closet is overflowing, if your cosmetic drawer is like, Donnie, if you've got too many old lady face creams in there, like throw a
I
couple
do.
out.
I
Yeah,
do.
I get it. Like be living a very edited life, and there's many, many experts out there that can talk to you about that. I actually just launched a podcast. A podcast launched today. I was interviewed by a Parisian stylist, and we talk a lot about like being very, very edited and tailored in your life. I mean, this was obviously very style focused, but like just in general to keep space open. So just, mindfully, like maybe explore some of those experts and tactics of keeping open spaces in your own like sort of orbit, um, especially in times of transition and change. I mean, I cleared out 80% of my closet and most of my home in Chicago when I knew I was about to leave. I didn't know where I was going or what that was going to look like. I just started getting rid of things, and then boom, California dropped in, and it was like intentional and purposeful, and it was there. Um, okay, to go back over to your question about other spaces and like traveling, are you asking like
Well,
traveling
I'm
and what
just
is that?
asking if other spaces help with the reiteration and the recreation and maybe the remixing of things. Does different are there some things that you get from different perspectives, whether it is Paris, which you love, or if it's like a bench by the lake or at the park, or like
Yeah.
how do you use spaces in your
Yeah, I think space, space play and mixing up your environment is really powerful. I think people get stuck in their home environment the way they get stuck in a job. Like they're in a certain city and it's like, and then they don't like it and they complain about it and they always talk about going somewhere else, but there's no action behind it. It's like, again, like my whole thing is like, you got to do something about it. I don't stop talking about it unless you're doing it. And and truly, it's you can explore a new park, you can try a different hike, you can go to a different Pilates studio, just to sort of change the environment a little bit. And I think those things help on a very micro level. I think for me, the beauty of travel does a few things. Number one, I I love French culture for many many reasons. I absolutely love how I love the fashion, I love the hospitality, and I love the festive nature of an evening out. Okay, we're not talking like clubbing or whatever. We're talking like amazing restaurants with great food, amazing music and dancing. Like it's like there's just to me this is where I have the most fun. I love it. You dance on tables, you like and it's not it's just it's a totally different way of enjoying life. Um it's very culturally French, like there's many, many places in France that do this. And I like it. Like I don't like to go out. There's not a lot of like, social life enjoyment that I find fun or fulfilling to me in the US. Like there's no city that I could compare and say, oh, I'm going to do this on a domestic level. I stay home and I wear my, cozy stuff. And now I've got like this fabulous French wardrobe that I'm like, I gotta go, I gotta get out, I gotta like, and that to me is like a fun expression of my personality that has nothing to do with my career. That's just like who I am and creating a space for like other parts of me to be at the table because like, this is one thing that was on my mind the entire trip. And I was definitely in some quiet spaces. And so,
Mhm.
and Mallorca was one of those spaces. Mallorca is a very, very special island off of Barcelona. If you need some like introspective work, it's there's a lot of sacred land. There's a lot of history there that is wellnessy driven.
Mm.
But we can talk about that. You guys can DM me and I'll tell you where I went if you want to know. Um, but one thing that was heavily on my mind is, especially since I've been an entrepreneur since I was 25 and I just turned 41, so it's been a while. My careers and my businesses have very much been like the definition of who I am. So I think from an early age, if you were to ask me, like, oh, who are you? I would say, I own this business. It'd probably be the first thing out of my mouth.
Mm.
Something that became like a goal, it's almost like my latest challenge, is for me to be able to answer that question without putting some career accomplishment in the answer.
Ooh.
And
Oh.
that is hard, especially as a woman who back then it was told to build and grind, get at the table with the men, and all. And now it's like all about like soft femininity and this other like the pendulum is like swinging. And those of us who are in the similar age as I am are probably feeling that because it doesn't matter if you're corporate America or an entrepreneur. But being in a space that as an individual I'm not defined by my work or my career history or accomplishments, um, I think is a really interesting challenge. And I don't have that elevator pitch written yet. Like I'm a person, like, but I do think that it's important not to be defined just by your career or whatever, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. That's not where all of your happiness and fulfillment is coming from. So like, what else is there?
Yeah, that is it is that's a deep question. I think that over the years, I personally feel like we've gotten work, or we'll call it an occupation. I think most of us settle for the occupation we've ended up in, but it used to be a vocation. And
Yeah.
vocation comes from the Latin, right? The voca, like the calling. What is your calling?
Mhm.
Or even profession didn't just mean that you get paid a lot. It also meant that you professed the same thing, or you believed it deeply, and that, it's like, so somehow all of that stuff got separated, and like, whatever, I want to hear whatever the I am. I want to hear about
Yeah.
that when it comes out. And I do think that for the people who are listening, and you're saying like, I know I'm at the end of a rope, or at the end of a cliff, or at the end of something, and I've got to shut something down. And like, just you saying, just shut your mouth, get with the divine, have some awareness,
Mhm.
and do something. Like, just start out by doing
Yeah.
anything, right? It's better than sitting on your hands. And I've done this myself. When I'm at the end of my company time, and I'm ashamed to have, like, that happened 2 or 3 companies with different. I would kind of cohort and congregate with these other sour grapes about why this company is so bad. And I realized by the third time I did it, this is back in, I don't know, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, it was me. That was my something in me. I just needed to go. It was
Yeah.
not them. It was
Yeah.
me.
You
I wish
outgrew
I
it.
didn't do it so negative. I wish that I didn't have to be negative to have done. I didn't have to be, but maybe people are going through that. So maybe you're talking to a Donnie from 7 years ago. Maybe you're talking to an Alex from a year ago, or maybe
Mhm.
you're talking to, like there's someone that right now is in the place of, there is a pivot in front of them, and
Mhm.
they need to know that this is, you're not quitting, you're finishing. Can
Yeah.
can you can you take a moment and just, I don't know, just act as though maybe there's someone that's going through this, and single them out and point your finger at them. Just talk to them for a minute. Help them to make the jump from where they're at into the next chapter. And then, Alex, tell us where we can find you. So, because we all need more of this in our lives.
Yeah. So I think in the finishing, you don't have to know where the next beginning is coming. Like, you can be acutely aware that it's time to finish. When I wrapped up I owned a PR company for 12 years in Chicago, and it was very, very clear it was time to be done. And I didn't have the next thing lined up. I actually was like, it kind of aligned when I had gotten certified to teach yoga. So I just wrapped up that business. I just started ending contracts with no kind of plan in place. And like, I'll tell you, your dad is never going to like say this is a good idea. I mean, I've made my father cringe so many times on my business decisions. He's like, how are you going to pay your rent or your mortgage or whatever? So this is not for everybody. Like, I think the risk taking scale is very sliding. I am on the close to the top. I take risks. I could, just talk to you a lot about the risks that I've taken in all kinds of choices, personally and professionally. But just because you know it's time to end does not mean you have to have the answer on where to go. I think, especially looking at high performing corporate America career types, you might be working 80 hours a week for somebody. Well, if you are putting in 80 hours a week and you're exhausted and you're depleted and you barely have time to like move your body and meal prep and do these other healthy things, you aren't in a space to find what's next. You don't have room for like just the true, like, heartfelt creative exploration of, is this the right direction for me, or whatever. You have to make room. And so while I'm not telling everyone to just go out and like quit your job and travel to Mallorca for 2 weeks and like, sit in that crystal blue water and let the divine speak to you there. Well, that sounds pretty good. I am saying that you do have to free some space up. So if you know your time is coming to an end, there's many, many ways to work with your current employer, uh, to to just get some space cleared. Maybe you need to work from home once a week and you need to negotiate that in your contract, or maybe you need to cut down your hours to only 75%. Or yeah, you're going to take a pay cut, but like, there is this like practice of sacrifice to get like going on the next, so I think depending on who you are and like where you are in your career and what is speaking to you like separately, I think that's kind of a personal choice. Like, I don't know that there's like a vague answer, but don't be afraid Two, quit your job, find something in the meantime that gives you the space. Like, look, retail is great. I'm not saying everybody should just go work retail and like, you know, be there forever. But if you are, needing to free up your mental and emotional and, just all this space, go get a part-time job just to like cover your basics and be intentional about what you're going to do next. Like, we I think our egos might get a little bit too in the way when we think about the transition of like, oh my gosh, well, unemployed looks so bad. I'm like, yeah, but being overemployed doesn't do anything for you. So there are these like alternative,
Mm,
little in the meantime pivot points that we can take advantage of. And look, the internet is like a very, very creative space. Like, if you don't have to be an influencer these days to make money on content creation and, you know, finding out what your skill set, it's also an incredible resource for, experts and new ways of thinking. So get out on a walk, try a different podcast, listen to a different point of view, and be open to what inspires you. Like, keep a journal close by, write down like the things you dream about. And if you have the means, yeah, go travel somewhere, take a solo trip. I love solo travel, by the way. I've been solo traveling for a really long time, um, and I haven't been murdered yet, so I think it's a safe place. So
wow.
I totally feel like things like that. Whether you take a retreat, I am hosting another retreat in France in June, so you can connect with me about that. And there's plenty that other people are hosting too, just to go meet other people and have different perspectives and just be quiet and listen. It's like some of the best advice I can give you is like, there are times for you to share, and then there's times for you just to be quiet and see what shows up. And
That
transition
is
points are really one of those points.
That is so, 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 so good. Alex, we've got the scannable for your weekly newsletter. That's a great commitment. Where else can we find you when we need more of this in our lives? You're on the Fuel app on myfuel.io. You have lots of stuff there. Where else do you like to be seen and found?
Yeah, I have two courses on fuel, mostly around resilience and leadership. So take a look at those. They're pretty quick. And you can find me on my website. It's alexsabbag.com, and also on Instagram at alexsabbag. So I hope to connect with you all there. I read all my DMs. So, we can connect about a whole host of topics if
I
you want to
love
chat.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
Look, you've heard it here. Go break away from things, get with the divine, do something, but don't just sit there and act like your hands are tied and like you have to just stay on like whatever you're tied to this thing for forever. No, you don't even have to live in the same home, follow the same schedule. You don't have to do any of it. But when you decide into it, boy, those decisions can create massive, not just results, but just like a resiliency and a brilliancy in your life. Alex, you have helped us to lead better today. And guys, we know if we can lead better, we can live better. Coming up next week, you will not want to miss us on with Coach Bert. He is going to be talking about why your why might not be the first thing you should pursue. He calls it "Screw Your Why," and we're going to be talking to him about that. But thanks for joining us, and thanks for winning on Wednesday. We will see you guys soon.